I just recently happened to teach a program, a course to MPhil classes, and that was about English language teaching. And one of my students complained, what were the complaints? She complained like, my students are less motivated. My students, they speak first language in the classroom, for example, Urdu. And she was also complaining, my students are not interested in what's going on in the classroom. And she also complained, my classes are big enough, right? So these were she was looking for a solution for these problems, and she just wanted to discuss these problems with me, and we had quite fruitful discussion, and where we talked about some of the strategies whereby we could improve students' involvement in the classroom, right? Um, these are the ideas which could be, incorporated into an in-service workshop. And I think this, my student, she might not had the opportunity in the past to attend any in-service workshop where she could be, prepared to better implement the language curriculum design, right? So planning lessons and units of work, these are another, goals of in-service workshops where we come across such problems and how to tackle these problems, right? So obviously, the goal of the workshop is just to make make the participants, I mean, the language teachers, to remember ideas, utilize them in the long term. But it also helps them to get something new, and their new activity, for example, how to encourage students, code switch, and then, make the use of second language more in the classroom. And this will fit into their own teaching context, right? So through this component of an in-service workshop, the organizers could give input to the participants, I mean the second language teachers, about how to plan lessons, how to divide the units of a lesson, right? And this is how the problems actually crops up when our lessons are not planned in an appropriate way. We might be facing certain problems, like we might be complaining some external circumstances. My classes are big, my students are hesitant, blah blah. So, but this is how the organizers could, and you might expect yourself when you are going to attend an in-service workshop, that you might be given some sample lessons, lessons where you are given how to plan and play around with the lessons and time them so that the interests of the participants is maintained, right? And there are some problem-solving exercises in this regard we can take up, and these could directly come up from the organizers themselves. And the first one is the application of the ideas gained through the workshop, and then we could engineer the participants to solve problems which regarding learners' motivation. For example, the organizer could ask the individuals, the participants, I mean the second language teachers, to have a scenario where the learners are less motivated, and how they could be, what techniques and strategies could be utilized to motivate those learners. And similarly, if the learners are not good at reading, what are the strategies, how we could invite them to skim and scan, and then inculcate these skills, and how we could make them better understand the usefulness of the first language and the second language for language learning, and similarly tackling the problems of big classes. And there are a number of activities which could be brought in by the organizers of an in-service workshop. And I think the useful one is the brainstorming, and the second is the contests, where Obviously, the participants are the second language teachers, so they could be asked to brainstorm and have some, contests where they could, wrestle with each other and gain some ideas. So, in brief, planning lessons and units of work are important part of an in-service workshop, and they go a long way to reshape the understanding of teachers' beliefs about language learning and language teaching, and which subsequently influences their efforts towards the implementation of language curriculum design.